Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the NeuroQueering podcast. I'm Pasha Marlowe, and I'm here today with guest Lou Szody, who is the owner and coach of Unconditional ADHD Coaching, and also one of the phenomenal coaches at neuroqueer.org, a wonderful neuroqueer community. So excited to have you here today with us, Lou. Hi.
Hi, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Pasha.
Absolutely. I have been admiring your work for a while and always enjoy our conversations. So
Hey, thank you.
thank you. So we're going to start with just a fun random question
Okay.
that I woke up just really wanting to know. If you could create your just dream ice cream sundae, making it however you would want to make it with whatever flavors, toppings, ingredients, what would that look like?
The dream ice cream sundae, I think would be like every peanut butter flavor
Ooh, yum.
available. So like like the Moose Tracks ice cream and peanut butter cups and peanut butter. Like, can we just freeze peanut butter?
Yeah.
Go
Oh,
in
that
there.
sounds so good. Now I kind of want to add that to mine.
Yeah.
I woke up with this craving for like half pumpkin, half cinnamon ice cream made with coconut milk, and then
Oh,
hot apple topping, and then coconut whipped cream. I was like, I
wow.
have to have that. And then if I can't find it, I'm going to make it. It's so
Yeah, that
good.
sounds really good.
But now I'm going to put peanut butter on it.
Yeah, that'll be great.
I literally have peanut butter every day. It makes me happy.
I think I do too. I've been making flourless peanut butter cookies. It's been like my comfort food for like 2
Ooh.
months.
All right. Are you a crunchy or a smooth?
Smooth, yeah.
Smooth.
Not crazy about the crunch. I'll tolerate the crunch, but I prefer the smooth.
I'm a crunchy, which is interesting because I have so many texture, like sensory issues with food, but I can do the crunchy. So
Yeah.
to each their own.
Yeah, I guess so. I think I can tolerate anything to eat a cookie, though. So
whatever gets a cookie down, you'll tolerate.
yeah.
That's great. That's great. I love it. I love it. Do you find when you're talking to your clients, your ADHD clients, that sensory issues come up a lot in conversation?
Yes, I find it comes up very often, and I think it's something that we don't like we tend to not realize, or we tend to just not hold enough space for, is like our sensory
Mhm.
experiences and how
Yeah.
we experience our body and our nervous system differently from neurotypical people. And I think um like when I first went to ADHD coaching,
Mhm.
when I was like the client and not the coach,
Mhm.
um, that never even came up in our sessions. And I had a wonderful coach, and I'm not, throwing that person under the bus. But I
Mhm.
don't think it's something that enough coaches spend time on.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I think when I first started to learn about neurodiversity and ADHD and autism, I heard about sensory issues so much more in the autism realm,
Yeah.
and the more I learned about ADHD, and the more I realized my own ADHD and sensory issues that they're intertwined. And the other day, I haven't even shared this yet, but over Thanksgiving break, I went flying, and I'm a very nervous flyer.
Yeah.
And normally I pre-board due to my son's, go figure, peanut butter allergy. And they used to
Oh,
on Southwest let you pre-board wipe down the seats because of peanut dust. But now
huh.
planes don't offer peanuts. Most
Yeah.
people aren't bringing peanut butter stuff on the plane. So they've done away with that. You can't pre-board. And I had a panic attack because that was because the real reason, in all honesty, that I needed to pre-board was because I'm so anxious and I need to set things up, and I need a certain like seat. I need to be close to the bathroom. I need to be near a window because of a lot of my own sensory issues and anxiety issues. So here's the good news for everybody listening that actually applies to all the listeners, is that you can go to the gate prior to the flight and say, due to disability, you need to pre-board. And that's literally all you have to say. You don't have to say everything I ended up saying, which is because of my ADHD and autism and my sensory issues. I need a lot of time to, get myself settled. I get very nervous. I'm going to have a panic attack. I need to be close to the bathroom. They're like, okay, you can just pre-board. Um,
Yeah.
So the only thing they'll ask is, do you need assistance walking down the ramp? Which I did not. And that was that. And I was proud of myself for asking for the accommodation I needed. And I had never really honestly said out loud that due to a disability, I need accommodations at the airport. And it was such a more pleasant flight. And I felt good about it. I just wanted to share that before I forgot with listeners. Have you ever, with your own ADHD, asked for accommodations in public?
No, but you reminded me of something that I keep seeing this meme recently. That's it's like making fun of people who like stand up immediately once the plane, rolls in and comes to a stop. And it's like, don't be that person that stands up immediately, like, because you're not going to get off the plane first anyway. And I'm like, I don't know if you've ever been like hyperactive and trapped in an airplane seat, but you would not find this meme funny if that was you. And so I've realized that like that's my accommodation, is like as soon as I am like allowed to stand up, immediately like standing up on there. So I'm that person that
Yes, agreed. Yeah, because we can feel very closed in and stuck. Yeah, and if I could open the window, I would. I mean, like I don't like being enclosed. So yeah, there's a lot of sensation going on there, emotionally and physically. So yeah, I'm the standard too. So yeah, we'll wave to each other next time we're the first one standing. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think and interesting, because this does blend into what you and I are going to talk about today, which includes imposter syndrome. But the first thing that came to my mind is, am I disabled enough to ask for this accommodation? Am I ADHD enough or autistic enough to need this help? And there was probably 4 or 5 people in wheelchairs who went on ahead of me, but I was in the line with people with wheelchairs, my son and I, because since he's a child, he boarded with me, and we were the only ones who were able to walk down the ramp. And I had that moment of pure doubt and embarrassment of like, what are other people thinking? Like, who is she to pre-board? What does she need to pre-board for? And the internal struggle I had, which felt like imposter syndrome. Like I wanted to sign like, my disability is internal and I have anxiety and sensory issues, but I felt like, why does it matter so much what other people are thinking? I knew in myself that this was an accommodation that would allow me to feel safe on the plane. But that reminded me of imposter syndrome and how we often deny our own needs because we feel like we're not fill in the blank enough.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I experience too, and that I know many of my clients do, is that feeling of like, am I ADHD enough? Am I neurodivergent enough to take up space here? Yeah, I don't know why I drew a blank after that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It happens often in coaching. I've seen that. With trauma as well. I'll ask you about the trauma triggers in a group coaching, for instance. And so often, I don't know if you notice this as well. Somebody will say, I mean, I have trauma, but it's not like real trauma or big trauma. It's not like everyone else's trauma. So I don't really even want to call it trauma. And then you hear their story, you're like, oh, that's trauma. That's definitely trauma.
Yeah.
And it's like a feeling of not feeling worthy of the help or the accommodation or support. What do you think it is when people feel like they're not ADHD or disabled enough or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's sort of a mix of us being socialized to just push through things. Like it doesn't matter how bad it is, you show up for work. You show up with a smile on your face. You have sometimes, depending on how your life is set up, like you do have to show up in some way no matter what. Like if you have children or you're a caregiver for anybody, you can't just do nothing. But then just the way that we are taught under capitalism to like show up for work and show up at school, and to show up the way that you are expected to, in a way that does not inconvenience other people with your grief or your anger or your illness.
That reminds me of stimming. Like, is stimming a problem, or is it because it makes other people uncomfortable?
Yeah, just because it looks weird to other people.
Right.
it is not, if you're not physically harming yourself, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the things I really appreciate in the neuroqueer community, and I'm sure in your unconditional ADHD coaching, is this openness to obviously be authentic, be yourself, but like this is a space where you can really let go and stim away. And like it's so interesting that when I'm given the permission, I realize how much I'm holding in, like how much I'm masking or just stiffening up and not allowing my body to move as it wants to move. And in those spaces, maybe I realize how much anxiety or excitement that I don't
Mhm.
let out, that I don't
Yeah.
fully express.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, yeah, as a kid, I remember often being in trouble for being like, I thought I was just enthusiastic. I was just very excited
Yeah. Yeah.
about everything. Um, but I remember always being told like to sit still and calm down and um,
Yeah.
yeah, and just not express that, I guess. And what is interesting is that it's sort of become like cheerfulness has sort of become like a mask for me. And I
Mm.
think my baseline mood is usually pretty cheerful. Like when all the meds are working and things are mostly okay, pretty cheerful. Um, but I've noticed too that like if I am in a situation where I'm uncomfortable, then I'm like, oop, gotta put the cheerful on because that's what everybody's
Right.
expecting. And that's how it like I know that I can navigate things safely with that. So I use it to navigate things safely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's interesting and freeing what you just said. And it's maybe something I didn't even realize because I'm in the public eye and visible in my online work and social media and podcasting, that there's this desire to be cheerful
mhm,
or excitable. But as soon as some of these platforms are, put away and the laptop closes, not only am I tired, but I wonder if my natural state is kind of sad or even lazy, but like not lazy in the ADHD sense, like I really like am more sedentary than I'm allowing myself to let on to, or heavy and serious than I
yeah,
allow myself to be. And so, yeah, then I'm picturing doing a podcast from my like sloth state. And I was like, it probably wouldn't be fun to listen to at all, but some days it would be true,
yeah,
to just be sad and grieve some of the heavy things that are going on in the world and just come from that place.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And in the past couple weeks, it's been 10 days since the shooting here in my city at Club Q.
Yes, you're from
Um,
Colorado Springs.
yes, yeah, based in Colorado Springs. And I have noticed myself a little bit with everybody, but really, really when I'm talking to my clients, because I've still been working, um, really trying to hold on to like that mask of, I haven't been like fake cheerful,
Mm-hmm.
but just like a mask of normalcy,
Mm.
which I think like I'm operating in a professional setting and that's mostly appropriate. Um, but I have caught myself a few times realizing like my clients are queer and neurodivergent and are something that affects one of us affects all of us in the
Absolutely.
queer community. And so I
Absolutely.
let myself dial it down like a little bit, not so much that I was like, okay, now your turn to help me, but like
Mm-hmm.
dial it down. So I'm like, that nobody has an expectation of me like being like like a Stepford coach if
Right.
that's not what's happening, and that's okay.
And I think leading with that vulnerability is beautiful, that you show them that it's okay to be angry or grieving,
Yeah.
fearful. Yeah, that's such a human response. And do you have clients in Colorado Springs, or most of your clients elsewhere
Um,
online?
all of my clients right now are elsewhere, just
Mm-hmm.
all over the United States, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I've had one client in Colorado Springs, but it was during COVID lockdowns, so we
Mm,
still worked remotely. We still didn't
okay.
meet in person.
Okay.
Yeah, the day I do will be very exciting, and we'll go wherever the client wants to go. Get me out of the house.
Yeah. Yeah. And I imagine after the Club Q shooting that there might be more need for uh, the queer community to reach out to local therapists and coaches. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And
mm,
the response here has been beautiful, like nothing I've ever seen. There are like therapists and religious and faith leaders and community organizers, um, and the moms and dads who come out and just offer, like, straight moms and dads
yeah.
just showing up and giving hugs and bringing snacks, the
Good.
things we need from parents that
Good.
we in the queer community don't always get or have. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so the need is absolutely there. And yeah, and being a part of a giving and receiving of that is, I don't even have words. And yet the point of your show is words, and I don't have
It's
words.
okay. It's also feelings and truth. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's beyond words, that experience perhaps. And related to imposter syndrome, it's also when you said it's if we're in the community, if it happens to one of us, it happens to all of us. And again,
Yeah.
it's true for, I agree, with the neurodivergent community and the queer community. And I think people in the community were hurting no matter where they were, and really feeling for the Colorado Springs community in particular. And yet it's so normal that we too might feel grief, fear, anger, even though it seems far away. And where the imposter syndrome comes in is I was talking to my doctor and we were talking about medication, and I take medication for ADHD, but every once in a while when I'm triggered in my trauma, after incidences such as that shooting, I require some anxiety medication, this very
Mhm.
short term anxiety medication.
Yeah.
And the last time I asked for it was after a school shooting in Texas, and it affected me so much I was anxious to send my kid to school here in Maine, and she denied me of that because she said it's so far away, it shouldn't really bother me. Same thing happened this week when I talked to her about, or last week when I talked to her about the Club Q incident. And as a member of the queer community, it made me very anxious. It was making me anxious. And she said, it's not happening to you, And I'm getting a new doctor, by the way, for everyone who's out there
Good.
going, get a new doctor,
Yes.
Pasha. I am getting a new doctor. But it brought back that imposter syndrome again. Like, am I am I traumatized enough to ask for medication? And it's so interesting how we have to constantly in this community advocate for ourselves, and like a constant excuse me, I'm gonna cough. Constant advocation for ourselves. Okay, you talk.
Yeah, no, I'm really sorry you experienced that. Yeah, that's a shitty doctor, and I'm glad you're getting a new doctor. So yeah. Um, yeah, and I don't like providers. That was what it is. I really like providers of any kind.
Just all providers. I
And
don't like providers.
everybody, all of us, anybody need to stop putting shoulds on things.
Well, the medical community is just it's such a toxic community, and so much is pathologized. It's like,
Hmm.
we pathologize our ADHD, our path we our our queerness can be pathologized depending on the provider we see. But I've been surprised time and time again as to how challenging it is to ask for what I think should be simple accommodations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Mhm.
I don't think there's not such a thing as like traumatized enough or affected
Yeah,
enough to require care or to require
exactly.
some kind of strategy be put in place to support you. Um, no, and people who say that I think are like fundamentally misunderstanding how trauma triggers work.
Mhm.
So something happened to you or to me a long time ago, happened physically to us. And like anything that happens now triggers our reaction to that. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be something happening to us again. It can be hearing it, seeing it, hearing about it, holding space for other people
Yeah.
can, in some contexts, be triggering for us. And yeah, I think for medical providers or anybody to say it's not happening to you. The
Right.
point is that something did, and it gets like it's like you're poking at it. I just realized you can't see my finger in there.
That you're poking. You're poking under, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure you hear this often in your work, people saying, I'm so glad to talk to somebody who understands ADHD, because we might not receive that same care and or awareness from our doctors or even our therapists or psychiatrists or teachers, like that. Often going to an ADHD coach is the first time somebody finally feels seen and heard. Do you hear that from your clients often?
Yes, I hear that very often.
Mhm.
And yeah, many of my clients express like just an immense sense of relief or a catharsis or all sorts of feelings of just finally talking to somebody who validates what they're feeling and then who they know has experienced many of the same things. And it's not that we all have to experience we all experience our brains differently. Even neurodivergent people all like there's 8 billion ways to have a brain and for a brain to work.
Mhm.
And yeah, just to talk to somebody who has like experienced something close enough.
Yeah.
And I think even within like neurodivergent communities, we experience that imposter syndrome, right? Because just realizing that other people were like, I found my people, and we still haven't experienced the exact same things. We still don't have, the same sensory experiences or the same like we have different challenges around emotional regulation.
Yeah.
And so what do you think of that? Like, yeah, in my experience, I see a lot of imposter syndrome within our own communities. What about you?
I do too. In both communities, as I was saying, somebody who doesn't feel maybe traumatized enough or ADHD or autistic enough to
Yeah.
fit into a space or to come to even a group. They'll say, I won't belong in the group, because I still hear like I'm just a little bit autistic, and I think, okay, you can't be a little bit pregnant and you're not gonna be a little bit autistic, like you're good. And
Mhm.
I really value self-diagnoses too, especially
Yes.
in midlife. I'm glad you agree, because that's the other thing I hear a lot regarding imposter syndrome. Like, I don't have a formal diagnosis. I don't have a doctor's note. I don't, can I still belong to this group? I resonate with everything you're saying. I go down the list of 100 symptoms
Mhm.
and I have them all, but I'm not really sure if I'm neurodivergent enough to be in this group. Do you get that as well?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, I do. I encounter, yeah, a lot of self-diagnosed people. And then also people who have gone through like the whole the whole stressful mess of getting tested and then being told like you're not ADHD or autistic. You're just on the cusp, but not. And I'm like, if you perceive yourself as experiencing all of the same things, like the little like 99 out of 100 points,
Yeah.
please, you are welcome here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so glad you create that space as well. Because I think there's a bit of controversy in the field as to whether or not self-diagnosis is useful. And certainly I'm on TikTok a lot, where there is actually a lot of really great education and support for neurodivergent and queer community, really. And there's a lot of, negativity and controversy around people watching a TikTok video and saying, oh, I must be autistic because I relate to that 1 minute. So I can see how the misperception is there. But if you're on TikTok and you're watching and you're following and it's showing up in your algorithm time and time again, relatable material about neurodivergent minds, and it resonates with you, then, you know, explore a coach or a
Yeah.
space or a community like the neuroqueer community, and make some friends and have some conversations, and you'll be welcomed. I mean, I think our communities, both of them, thank goodness, are so very welcoming, and
Yes.
and really we honor each person's individual experience, and we honor each person's intuition for knowing their body and mind best, more
Yeah.
than a DSM diagnosis or a doctor even.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, even if someone is not neurodivergent, if the way that they experience their executive function, the way that their brain works, if that is interfering with their work and running their household and their relationships, if they experience like sensory overwhelm or they experience burnout, like I don't you don't have to fit like every criteria.
Exactly.
Like if something is challenging or different for you, it is. And we don't have to like we don't have to diagnose or pathologize anything about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Just support.
Yeah.
And you call your business unconditional ADHD
Yeah.
coaching. So I assume that means it's not conditioned.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what I named it for, was just unconditional acceptance of each client exactly where they are.
Yeah.
So some people do come to coaching and they say like my life is falling apart. And some people are like way on the other end and they're like, I'm doing okay, but I would like to see if some things could be easier, or I would like to have this in place just in case. And like
Right.
most people are somewhere in between.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
that's exactly what I named it for.
Beautiful. I love it. And you're also strength based, and you want to allow
Mhm.
people's strengths to lead their strategies. You said something like that in the write up, and I wanted
Yeah.
you to expand upon it.
Yeah, absolutely. My goal is for each of my clients and for myself and every person in the world to figure out what we're good at, where our strengths are. And I shouldn't even have said what we're good at. Like we don't have to be good at a thing, what our strengths are. And use that to leverage just existing and functioning in the world and interacting with other people. We get enough feedback about how bad we are at things as neurodivergent people, as queer people.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a lot more empowering and just a lot more effective. And it's easier if you know where your strengths are and you build your life based on that.
Hmm.
Have you ever
Yeah.
had the kind of like reviews at work, like the performance reviews, where they're like, you're good at these things, but now we're going to talk about the things you're terrible at and how you can improve that? Because we all have like unlimited executive function, right? And we can just be good at everything. And how
Mhm.
frustrating and like disempowering that.
Yeah, I have experienced that.
Yeah.
It's funny,
So,
anytime you say something that brings anxiety, my throat closes up.
oh no.
That's my own embodied emotions.
Yeah.
I apologize. Um, but that brings me to RSD, is
Mhm.
I would get an evaluation and focus on the one
Yeah.
norm.
Yeah.
Yeah, common in the ADHD community to have that
Yeah.
rejection sensitivity.
Yeah. And then I always notice the like that inevitable experience of like, okay, you said I need to improve this thing, so I will. And I would work, and it wouldn't even take like the normal amount of work. It takes like extra work to get high scores on something you're terrible at, right? So I would improve at something. And then at the next review, they'd be like, well, you did better, but the thing you're usually good at, you sucked at it this time. And I was like, I know I only have 100% effort to give. Like I can't increase that.
Right. You can only do, and even if you didn't give it 100%, you gave it what you could that day.
Yes, yeah, yeah, whatever you have on any given day is 100%. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah. So, yeah, my goal is like to not do that to my clients and not be like, let's improve these things that you're always going to be stressed and have grief around. Like
Yeah.
we can grieve those things and just do them good enough, whatever you can do.
Good enough. I love it. I love it. Well, I love your style. I love your energy. I'm slightly embarrassed, but also really really pleased and with, because I know my body. And I know that when I bring up truths and vulnerabilities, it goes right to my throat chakra where I get tight. Like I'm speaking my truth. Oh shit, I'm speaking my truth. My throat's getting closed, and now I can't talk, and now I have to cough, and now I can't swallow. Which just means that you, in your gentle brilliance, is allowing me the safe space to accept some truths about myself that I maybe hadn't thought of in a while, or certainly hadn't expressed out loud. So I appreciate your coaching, your presence here, your friendship, because I know that's what's happening and why I'm coughing
Thank you.
and
Thank
now
you for saying
crying
that.
because I'm coughing so much.
You know what's funny? I have my throat chakra stone.
No way. You're holding a throat chakra
Mhm.
stone.
Yeah.
That's okay. Well, you brought the magic. I was not expecting to release throat chakra stuff today, but go figure. That is what needed to happen.
Yeah.
So obviously Lou is a brilliant coach. So if people wanted to reach you and follow you, Lou, how could they do that?
So you can visit my website. It is unconditional-coaching.com. I am on Instagram, unconditional_ADHD_coaching, Facebook, unconditional ADHD coaching. And then I do have a workshop that is starting up Thursday, December 15th. And that is going to be a 4-week like focused coaching experience around imposter syndrome.
Excellent. And then you were also going to leave a link about Club Q and fundraising. Is that right?
Yes, yes. I am going to provide you with a link that you can put in the show notes, and that will be for some fundraising efforts for victims, families, and survivors of the shooting at Club Q. And I'll be careful to provide links to fundraisers that have been like vetted by
Oh,
the
thank
people
you.
involved. Yeah.
Yeah, I will include all of Lou's links in the show notes. And I'm so glad we were able to talk today, Lou. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Pasha. Good to see your face.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. And for those out there listening in the new year, starting in January, I'm starting what I'm calling NeuroCommunity. But rather than doing my normal 7 or 8 week coaching sessions, I'm just going to do the whole stinking year. I'm just going to be like, have the year. We're going to meet every Monday so that there's consistency and continuity and really deep community building. So I wanted to make everybody aware of that. I'm also actually doing a live retreat too. It's a women's retreat here in Maine. I know Maine is very far away from a lot of you, but it's in Freeport, Maine. And we're going to talk about it's a hygge. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Hygge. It's a Swedish word for cozy. And I'm just thinking, oh, we're going to get cozy and we're going to do yoga and journaling and talking, and we're going to burn stuff down.
I love that. I love like the cozy and burning stuff down that's my jam.
Yeah. Burn whatever no longer serves us well. So yes. Well, such a pleasure, Lou. And I look forward to seeing you and talking with you again. And thank you everyone out there for neuroqueering with us today.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.